So we all live in a world where we addicted to the phone, we addicted to contents, we scrolling, we mindlessly scrolling, and we think the world is crazy, the world is hectic, and everything goes insane right now. What should you do with this current climate? And my advice to you is to do a simple thing that you should have done a long time ago, and that is to live your life. And I know that may come as a surprise and a shock, and many people have said that, oh, they have lived their life. The reality is many people have existed, but they never have lived their life. They have never lived their life because they simply exist. And that's the problem with society. People just exist. They, get a good job, have a house, have a family, and is, happy, have friends, best friends. And in order to live your life fully, as richly as possible, you need to find someone that would change your life, one person. And this is something no one can do it for you, not your significant other, not your friends or your family. You the only one can do that. You need to find that person. What I mean by that, you need to find someone who you would be yourself with totally fully, and there's no excuse, there's no excuse to do other things. Because when you find that person, things will be much different. You would feel calm, relaxed, and light. And everything is lighter because he or she would make everything better for you. Or they would make everything better for you. They will say all kind of writing. And a lot of people claim to have best friends. And I think I understand that. But at the same time, they have argument with their best friends all the time. And they feel bad. They feel hurt. And this tiny thing is breaking down their inside. And ultimately, these sort of friends are technically good, but it's not enough for you, because ultimately what you need is to find that one missing piece of you, and ultimately the universe will be able to do that for you. You just need to trust your instinct, your gut. You just need to do this thing. And I think a lot of time people don't take risks to do something because they don't trust themselves, because as human we are taught to never trust ourselves anymore. And I think it's such a shame, because I've seen many people and they have so much potential, but they're not willing to go and find that thing. Instead, they just live in this comfortable place, and in the end they end up complaining about the world, which is what the current state of the world really is right now. But at the same time, you cannot worry about those things. You cannot worry about the world. You just need to worry about yourself, your being, your spirituality, your mental, your psychological. You need to find something that has a meaning to your meaning, and you cannot find it anywhere. No one can give it to you. No one knows where it is. You're the only person who knows this. I remember many years ago, before I moved to Sydney, I felt something in me. I felt like if I were to move to Sydney, there would be someone or something there waiting for me. And in the beginning of my departure to Sydney, I felt a little bit lonely, and I thought, oh, maybe everything was right, that things gonna go wrong. But then I met a great friend, and he was the one that's waiting for me there, that can feel his energy. And I think that's incredible, because I never felt another human being energy, but I felt his energy. For example, before he left, I felt his energy. It's like something told me to turn right, and I turned, and he was there again before he left home to his hometown to England. And my point being is that a lot of the time people don't experience this thing, and they don't know what it is, so they never try to go and search for it, because they're so afraid they're going to be alone. And the thing is, that's a lie in the Hunger Games. That's the lie from Mockingjay, Hunger Game Mockingjay, that said, some road you have to walk alone, and Katniss right, you have to walk alone at some point, because ultimately if you're too afraid, you never get anything, because the world doesn't need saving. Believe me or not, the world doesn't need saving. You don't need to save it. You just need to live your life. That's all you can do. And one day you would find someone you would be yourself with, and may or may not settle down with them. But reality is you will find at least one person who you would be true self with. There are 7 billion of us. There's a chance that you will meet someone. And many years ago I wrote down in my diary that said, the world is cruel. It could break you, crush you, or kill you before it heals you. And I think this is what the world is. It can break you, crush you, or kill you. But eventually, if you let it, if you trust it, it would heal you from all the pain. I'm someone who people said have a difficult life, but I never felt that way. For example, I grew up without a father. Even childhood trauma. When I was 21, I was diagnosed with depression, clinical depression, and I have suicidal thoughts. When I was 27, I was 27 or 28, I can't remember. I had psychosis episode 1, and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and eventually in my 30s, I have self-harm thoughts. But when I look back at my life, I don't think it's necessarily bad, simply because I have a really great friend at one point in time. He's so amazing to me, even though I was not amazing to him, but at the same time, I think what I find from that experience, despite the fact that I've been through this, like a lot, I didn't feel that way at all. I feel like my life has been amazing because I found peace within myself. I found who I am, and I'm someone who I'm someone who would sit uncertainty for a long time before I react, and but at the same time, I think I'm reasonable enough to hang out. I don't mind that. At the same time, I think ultimately what missing from my life before I was 21 was a good friend, because as a kid I always wanted to have a best friend, and I have had that before, but it's not the same, because you have best friends, but this kind of friends that you fight, argue with, and that's the problem with your friendship. If you have friends that you still argue with, then they're not good enough for you. It's a sign that it's not good enough for you. And at the same time, if you go out and search spirituality of yourself, who you are, maybe not in that sense, but to feel young in a warm weather for a while, just to figure things out, just to be that life of a young guy or girl or non-binary person. And I think ultimately what you really would find is your identity, and when you found that, it would be incredible feeling, because you ultimately not afraid of anything, and you can push yourself to limit. And ultimately, most of us think that we need money, we need house, we need to buy a house because the house price is going up. We need to do something, and no, you don't need to do those things. You just need to live your life fully and richly and enough. And you need to find that even in 10 years time, you find yourself living in a shared house, it wouldn't be a terrible situation, because your mindset has changed, and ultimately it doesn't matter how crazy the world is. It's always been that way. It's up to you to live this life that you're given in the most beautiful way as possible. I've been through some terrible shit, but with looking back, I never thought my life was terrible, and I don't think it's that way, because as I said, I found someone who showed me a meaning of life, and I don't think no one can fully explain that concept to someone who never experienced it, because people just say, no, I'm not like that, I'm different, they always have a thing to say that I'm someone different, I'm just not my vibe. I think given a chance, we all can be terrible people, and believe it or not, we all can be extremely terrible people given a chance, because ultimately what you will do this is that when you have kids, you will psychologically abuse them because you didn't live a fulfilled life. You will psychologically abuse them, and that's transferred to the next generation, because ultimately most people just like kind and good to other people because they're reasonable people, but they kept their hatred, anger within them, and when they have kids, those things go to their kids and just ignore that. They don't see that because they don't see their kids as human beings, they see them kids as kids, and I think that's a consequence of not living your life, is that you eventually would put everything on your kids. It's heaviness, and it might be not as bad as your parents, but at the same time it could be worse because you ultimately have someone that you have power over them, because people tend to have power over their kids. And I think the consequences of not living your life fully is that your kids, your future kids, will suffer, and that's a first world problem.